believing it's possible for you. And typically, that is what I would call a self-worth journey. It's the journey of believing that you are worthy of such a beautiful life experience. And often our wounds and the conditional love that we received early in life, the cultural conditioning in general, has like convinced us that we are just a cog in the machine, that you should just like be grateful for your paycheck, sit down and shut up. Like you shouldn't want more, and like if you want more, then you're greedy and selfish and et cetera, et cetera. Like they plant all kinds of ideas in our minds to get us to disconnect from the belief that it's possible that we could build a life that we love. Okay, there's a lot working against us in that step of the process of believing that it's possible for you. So if you're stuck on that, please just know that that makes sense. And that that's a lot of what I do with people in our sessions and one-on-one of like, and if you're already one of my one-on-one clients, then we can talk about that. We can talk about like, I believe it's possible. I don't believe it's possible for me. How do I unpack that? How do I convince myself that it is possible for me? And I would love to have a conversation that sounds like that, where we convince you that it's possible by basically getting the things out of the way, like poking holes in the illusion that are telling you right now that it's not possible. And in a general conversation like this, it's really hard to give like a specific example. But like when we talk about your specific situation, what you want and where you are, it kind of like just becomes clear that like, well, this is what's in the way. So that would be something that we would unpack more in a one-on-one setting. So we've done steps. One is daydream, get clear about what you want. Step two is believe it's possible. Step three is believe it's possible for you. And step four, and this is really the one that we've been talking about this whole time, choose into it. Choose it. Like you want to be a comedian, you believe people are comedians, you believe you could be a comedian. Now you got to choose your way into that. And what does that mean? That means sit down with a pen and paper and write some material. Once you wrote your material, do a stand up set, maybe in front of your most safe, trusted person. Share some of your material with them. And maybe then do like a few people at a time of like, yeah, like your close friends, like show them what you're doing. Maybe this is how it goes. For me, when I like one of the pieces of my purpose that I realized there at one point was I'm a messenger. Like I have something to say that needs to be heard. And this is my realization. This is my daydream that I belong on stage. Okay. And believe it's possible. Well, yeah, I mean, professional public speaker, like that's a thing. Like that's a career that some people have. Okay. Could I be that? Could I be somebody that gets paid to give talks? Like that's my whole job. Could I be that? I mean, that took a while for me to believe that I had something to say, you know? So I mean, that's step number three. Believe it's possible for you. Okay. This is really where the growth happens. And once you believe it's possible for you, where like I was like, yeah, I have something to say. I have a lot of things to say actually that could be really useful to people who want to make their lives as good as they can be. I believe that. Okay, so then choose into it. And for me, what that looked like was not the route that I just described. And that's why I'm telling this story is like a completely different approach. For me, it was not realistic to show my like talk, like show my presentation, show my self-expression. Like it just wasn't a thing to show it to safe, trusted people in my life, mostly because I didn't have a whole lot of those at that time. Um, And so what I did instead was start a YouTube channel anonymously. I called it My Intentional Gifts at the time, which I soon changed it to Owning Authenticity. My name is not on it. And I didn't tell anybody that I was doing that. I just made videos and posted them quietly over here on my YouTube channel. And in those early days, like, I would upload a video and it would get 2 views. And then I would upload a video and it got 4 views. And then I uploaded a video, it got 0 views. And that was like the first several months of my posting on YouTube journey. It wasn't about telling everybody in my life that this is what I'm doing. I needed the privacy and the anonymity of being able to express myself. I felt safest by excluding everyone in my current life. So, you got to start somewhere, and wherever you feel the safest to choose your way into it one little bit at a time. Another example of how I was choosing into it when I very first started my YouTube channel, I was teaching. I was like making educational videos about how to simplify natal charts. And then later I did a series on how to simplify the human design chart. And so I would get on a video, I would just like record myself on Zoom, and I would talk about like, okay, so the big three on your natal chart is your sun, your moon, and your rising sign. The sun is like this, it represents this. The moon is like this, it represents this, et cetera, et cetera. So like I wasn't talking about myself. I wasn't like sharing vulnerably. I wasn't telling my own personal story of what I'd been through and what I learned. And like I wasn't talking about that. I was just like, if you want to know about your natal chart, you can look at it like this and the end, right? Again, because that felt safest to me of like, let me just practice using my voice and being on camera, et cetera, et cetera. About 6 months later, I had like enough practice of making videos, releasing videos, having people comment on my videos and like interacting with people, and was like, yeah, like I'm doing it. Like this is good. And it felt good, especially the times when somebody would comment, and like the way you explained that just completely blew my mind. Like I love looking at it that way, et cetera, et cetera. Like I just like those kinds of comments were so validating and like affirming of like you're going in the right direction. And so for 6 months, I just made educational videos. And that fall of 2021, um, I sat down for the first time on camera and told a story. And I did it through Zoom, so there were no pauses, there were no outtakes, there were no edits. Like it was just going to be like me talking and telling a story, and whatever it is, that's what it's going to be. And I'm owning my authenticity. And so that, over 3 years ago, starting to tell stories on my channel has opened me up to a lot of things as far as like my business was born out of my channel. Pretty much every friendship I have was born out of my YouTube channel. Like when I look at Laura, who at this point in my life is my best friend, and I think about the friendship that she and I have and the space, the spaciousness between us, and the love between us, and the mutual respect between us, and the explorations, the conversations that we have, and how much I grow through this relationship with her. When I think about like, that is one of the most satisfying areas of my life right now. How did that become a thing? Like, how am I living that right now? Well, I made choices. Like I made the choice to start a YouTube channel in whatever way I could. And I made the choice to expand what I was doing, which was a growth edge, and it was vulnerable and it scared me, but I did it and I got better and better at it. I made the choice to start a series called Heart to Heart. I made the choice to invite my current life coach at the time, this was in 2023, to invite my current life coach to come on to my channel for a heart to heart and record that conversation with me. And I published that on my channel. And my life coach at the time shared that conversation and with her YouTube channel, her audience. And Laura was a subscriber to her channel and watched our heart to heart and came and subscribed to Owning Authenticity. And less than 6 months later, I had this inspiration for doing activation sessions, like free one-on-one Zoom call where we can talk about like, what is your daydream? What do you want? And do you believe it's possible for you? And how could you be choosing into it? Like, this is what I do in the activation sessions. And Laura applied for one of those activation sessions, and I met her in January of 2024. So a lot has unfolded between us since then, but like all the choices that I made to even create an avenue where she could enter my life. Like we could talk on and on about even just deciding to do activation sessions and the choices that led me to coming up with how that all was going to work. Like when you start unraveling the trail of choices that led you to the things that are fucking delicious in your life, you will find the key ingredients as far as like you doing things that are fun for you, you doing things that you love, you doing things that light you up, right? Like it's not hard to make the choices that lead to the things that you love. Like if you're agonizing over it, if you're forcing yourself, if you're like having to whip your own ass to get yourself to do the thing, like it's probably not going to lead to a consequence worth having, in my experience. But if you can't not do it because you're so in love with the thing, like you're so excited, lit up, etc., typically those consequences are the ones that you really want. Um, and so the note that I made earlier that I wanted to make sure and talk about, there's a key ingredient to this process of world building, right? The 4 steps of world building. You daydream, you believe it's possible, you believe it's possible for you, and you choose into it. Okay. The key ingredient to keep in mind in all of this is